Welcome to the Sci-Fi Evolution channel. Captain Eva Rostova stared out the cold window of the bridge of her ship, surrounded by the darkness of outer space. She could see the Xylosian ships, floating silently like guards around Terran's solar system. They were huge and silver, with strange blue lights that never seemed to stop glowing. It had been 3 long years since they had arrived, watching and waiting. Eva rubbed her tired eyes and glanced at the screen showing the location of their ship, the Pioneer. It was stuck at the edge of human space, just like every other ship. Aliens from the Stellar Concord had created an invisible wall around all the planets where humans lived, calling it a protective quarantine. But Eva knew better. These people had become like family to her in the past 3 years. They shared the same anger and frustration at being trapped in their home system. Lieutenant Anya Sharma glanced up from her computer, her face pale from too much time in front of the screen. "What do you think they're waiting for?" she asked. "I don't know," Eva replied. "But we need to find a way to break through this quarantine. We can't just sit here and wait any longer." They continued to stare at the Xylosian ships, hoping for a sign of hope. But the silence remained, and the frustration grew. "Artificial lights. They want us to turn around and go back to Terra." Eva nodded slowly. The Concord always sends the same boring message, saying that humans need to learn how to be peaceful before they can join the other alien races. But Eva has seen the Concord's own ships, and they carry enough weapons to destroy entire planets. "Any word from Envoy Kalen?" she asked. Anya shook her head. "Nothing new, ma'am. She's still at the Concord station, trying to talk to them, but they keep giving her the same answers. They say humanity needs to evolve past our aggressive nature." Oh, Eva wanted to laugh, but it wasn't funny anymore. Zara Kalen had been trying to negotiate with the Concord for 2 years. She was smart and patient, speaking their language and following their customs. But the aliens treated her like a child, asking for something they couldn't give. The truth is that the Concord is afraid of humanity. Eva could see it in the way they positioned their ships, ready to run away if humans got too close. Other alien races joined the Concord by asking nicely and following orders. Humans had tried to do the same thing, but something about them made the Concord nervous. A young officer named Finn O'Connell approached Eva with a data pad. "Captain, we've been monitoring the trade routes. The Concord ships are still blocking all commerce heading towards human space. Our outposts are running out of medical supplies and rare alloys. This is the real problem. Terra has many outposts on different planets and space stations. These places need supplies from other worlds to survive. The Concord's blockade is slowly strangling human civilization. People are getting sick because they can't get medicine. Factories are shutting down because they can't get materials." Eva took the data pad and studied the numbers. The situation was getting worse every month. The Olympus colonies were particularly hard hit. They depended on trading with other systems for almost everything they needed. Now, families were struggling to find enough food and clean water. "What about the smuggling runs?" Eva asked quietly. Finn glanced around to make sure no one else was listening. Commander Valerius on Olympus was still organizing them. Her people had been sneaking in supplies. The Council was getting better at catching people smuggling supplies through the blockade, using small ships and hidden routes. It was dangerous work, but Commander Valerius was a hero to many people. She had been a regular military officer before the quarantine started. Now she led a secret network of brave people who risked their lives to bring needed supplies to human outposts. The Concord would probably kill anyone they caught smuggling, but Valerius's people kept trying anyway. Eva handed the data pad back to Finn and told Commander Valerius that they supported her efforts. If she needed anything from them, she just had to ask. The bridge door opened and Dr. Eris Thorne walked in. He looked excited about something, which was unusual. Eris spent most of his time in the lower levels of the ship, working in his makeshift laboratory. He was trying to understand alien technology by taking apart pieces of equipment that humans had collected. Eva, I need to show you something. Eris held up a small device that was flickering with green light. I've been working on it. That communication array we recovered from the Concord probe last month. Eva followed Eris to a quiet corner of the bridge. Eris was brilliant, but he sometimes gets carried away with his discoveries. Still, his work has helped humanity survive quarantine. He figured out how to make human machines work better by copying alien designs. I found something strange in the probe's memory banks, Eris whispered. There are files about other species that went through quarantines like ours, but the weird part is, I can't find any records of those species existing anymore. A cold chill ran down Eva's back. What do you mean they're gone? Completely gone. The Concord put them in quarantine like us, and then they disappeared from all records. It's like they never existed. This information hit Eva like a punch to the stomach. The Concord had been telling humans that quarantine was for their own protection. They said it was temporary, just until humans learned to be more peaceful. But if other species had been quarantined and then vanished, maybe the Concord had different plans. Are you sure about this? Eva asked. Eris nodded firmly. I've checked the data 3 times. The Concord finds a species they don't like, puts them in quarantine, and then makes them disappear. I think we're next on their list. Eva looked out the window at the Concord ships. They suddenly seemed much more threatening than before. The aliens weren't protecting humanity from the galaxy. They were protecting the galaxy from humanity. And when they decided humans were too dangerous to exist, the quarantine would become something much worse. How long do you think we have? Eva asked. I don't know, Eris replied. But I found references to something. I called the project cleanup in the probe files. The data is encrypted, but the timing suggests it's connected to our quarantine. Eva made a decision that would change everything. Eris, I want you to share this information with Commander Valerius and anyone else on our network. But be careful. If the Concord finds out we know their real plans, they might decide to act sooner. Eris agreed and hurried back to his lab, while Eva remained on the bridge, staring at the alien ships and thinking about what this meant for humanity. The Concord made a serious mistake by giving humanity 3 years to think and prepare. Humans are good at adapting to difficult situations and are also very good at fighting when their survival is threatened. The other alien races probably accepted their fate when the Concord came for them, following orders and hoping for mercy. But humans are different. We spent the quarantine years learning, building, and getting stronger. If the aliens come for us, we will fight back. The Concord wanted to destroy humanity. They were going to find out that humans would not go quietly. Eva smiled for the first time in weeks. The Concord thought they had contained a dangerous species, but they had no idea how dangerous humans could become when they had time to prepare for war. The aliens were about to learn a painful lesson about underestimating their enemies. The quarantine was almost over, but not in the way the Concord had expected. 3 months had passed since Dr. Eris Thorne discovered the truth about the quarantine program. He had been working day and night in his underground lab, digging deeper into the alien communication systems and encrypted files. The small room was filled with the hum of machines and the blue glow of alien data displays. Alex, a technology enthusiast, had carefully disassembled and rebuilt a device. He wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the screen. For weeks, he had been trying to break into the Council's most secure communication channels. These were secret messages that only high-ranking members could send and receive. Finally, after countless hours of work, he had found his way into their network. What he saw made his blood run cold. The messages were in the Council's official language, but Alex had learned enough to understand their basic meaning. The words "cleanup project" appeared over and over again in the files. There were also phrases like "final containment protocols" and "sterilization procedures." But the most frightening part was a timeline showing Earth marked for complete resolution in just 6 months. Alex quickly copied all the information onto a secure data storage device. His hands were shaking as he did so. This was proof that the Council didn't plan to keep humans in quarantine forever. They were planning to kill every single human in the galaxy. Alex grabbed his jacket and ran through the underground tunnels that connected his laboratory to the main communication center. The tunnels were built during the early days of the quarantine, when humans realized they needed to hide their most important work from the Council's surveillance satellites. When Alex reached the communication room, he found Captain Jake Morrison there, already talking to someone on a secure channel. Jake looked up as Alex burst through the door, holding the data device like a bomb ready to explode. "Jake, we need to talk right now," Alex said, breathing heavily from his run through the tunnels. Jake finished his conversation and turned to face Alex. The captain's face was serious, as it had been for months. Now, the stress of quarantine was weighing on everyone, but Jake carried an extra burden of knowing that millions of lives depended on his decisions. "What did you find?" Jake asked Alex. Jake plugged the data device into the room's main computer. The screen filled with alien text and strange symbols. Finally, he broke into their high-level communications. "Jake, we were right to be worried. The Council isn't just keeping us locked up. They're planning to kill us all," Jake said. He studied the information on the screen. Even though he couldn't read the alien language, the charts and timelines were clear enough. "How long do we have?" 6 months, maybe less," Alex replied. "They're calling it Project Cleanup. From what I can understand, they've done this before with other species. The quarantine is just the first step. They isolate a civilization, weaken it by cutting off trade and resources, and then they send in their war fleets to finish the job." Jake felt his anger grow as he saw the evidence that the Council had been lying to humanity from the beginning. All their talk about protecting the galaxy from human violence was just an excuse. They saw humans as a threat to their power, and they had decided that the only solution was complete genocide. Jake ordered Alex to send this information to Commander Phillips on Mars. She needed to know what they were dealing with. While Alex prepared the secure transmission, Jake opened a communication channel with Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez, who was currently on a reconnaissance mission near the outer edge of the solar system. Sam had been using a small, fast ship to watch the Council fleet's movements and gather intelligence about their activities. "Sam, report your current status," Jake said into the communicator. Sam's voice came through clearly, despite the distance. "Captain, I'm glad you called. I've been seeing something strange for the past week. Our new ships are arriving at every day. The Council staging area is getting bigger and bigger. The ships we've seen so far are much bigger than the patrol ships." Jake and I exchanged worried looks. "What kind of ships are these? Maybe battle cruisers or even planet killers? I've counted at least 50 so far, and more are still coming. These aren't ships for peacekeeping or patrol duty. These are weapons of war." This news confirms Alex's worst fears. The Council wasn't planning to eliminate humanity. They were preparing for a massive military operation. The ships that Sam described could destroy entire planets from orbit. "Sam, I need you to get closer and record everything you can. Be extremely careful. If they catch you, we'll lose our only source of information about their movements." "Oh, I understand. I'll stay hidden and continue watching." Jake closed the communication channel. "How many people know about this information?" "Just the two of us, Alex, and the data that I'm sending to Commander Phillips. I've been very careful to keep this a secret until we could figure out what to do with it." We need to be very cautious about who we tell, because if the Council finds out that we know about their real plans, they might decide to attack earlier than scheduled. The door to the communications room opened, and Ben Walsh walked in with a stack of reports from various human colonies. His face was grim, which was becoming normal for anyone working in the resistance movement. "Captain, we've received reports from our contacts throughout human space," Ben said. "The Council has increased their patrols and tightened the blockade. Several of Commander Phillips' smuggling ships have been intercepted and destroyed. The Council is definitely planning something big." Jake took the reports and quickly scanned them. The pattern was clear. The Council was preparing for something significant. The aliens were making sure that no humans could escape the solar system before their final attack. They were also cutting off the last remaining supply lines to human colonies, weakening them further before the killing began. "There's something else," Ben continued. "We've been monitoring the Council's communications in their public channels. They've been sending messages to other alien species about the human problem. It sounds like they're trying to convince the rest of the galaxy that we're too dangerous to exist." This was another piece of the Council's plan. They wanted to make sure that no other alien species would try to help us when the attack began. By spreading propaganda about human violence and aggression, they were isolating Earth both politically and physically. Alex finished uploading the data to send to Commander Phillips. "Jake, there's something else in these files that you need to know about. The Council has detailed records of at least 12 other species that have gone through the same process, as we are experiencing now. What happened to them? They were completely wiped out. The Council has been doing this for hundreds of years. Whenever they find a species that shows too much independence or military potential, they eliminate it. We are just the latest target." Jake walked over to the small window that looked out onto the surface of the asteroid, where their secret base was hidden. In the distance, he could see Earth shining like a blue jewel against the blackness of space. Billions of humans lived on that planet, going about their daily lives, without knowing that their entire species had been marked for extinction. But there was one thing the Council didn't understand about humans. Unlike the other species they had destroyed, humans had a long history of fighting against impossible odds, surviving ice ages, wars, diseases, and natural disasters. They had learned to adapt and overcome challenges that would have destroyed weaker civilizations. The Council made a critical mistake by giving humanity 3 years to prepare. During that time, humans worked, learned, and built. They reverse-engineered alien technology and improved upon it. They created secret networks and hidden bases throughout the solar system. Most importantly, they united in a way that they had never done before. "Alex, I want you to continue monitoring their communications. Learn everything you can about their attack plans and fleet movements. Ben, coordinate with our contacts to gather information about their actions." The human outposts needed to know what was coming, but they also needed to stay calm and continue working on their preparations. "What about Envoy Kalen?" Finn asked. "Should we warn her?" Eva thought about Zara Kalen, still on the Concord station, trying to negotiate for humanity's freedom. She was walking into a trap, trying to reason with people who had already decided on genocide. But if they suddenly recalled her, the Concord might become suspicious. "Not yet," Eva decided. Zara is smart. When the time comes, she'll figure out what's happening. For now, her presence on the Concord station gives us valuable intelligence about their activities. As her crew members left to carry out their orders, Eva remained alone in the communication room. She looked at the alien text scrolling across the computer screen, filled with plans for humanity's destruction. The Concord thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would surrender when faced with a superior force. The overwhelming force they were about to face was about to discover how wrong they had been. Humans had spent 3 years in silence, but they hadn't been idle. They had been preparing for war, And when the Concord made their move, they would find that their intended victims had become something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The news about Project Cleanup spread through the human resistance network like wildfire. Within hours, Dr. Eris Thorne's discovery was known to every human outpost, space station, and hidden base in the solar system. The message was simple but terrifying. The Concord planned to kill every human in just a few months. Captain Eva Rostova stood in the main command center of the hidden asteroid base, watching as reports came in from across human space. The base had grown from a small communication station to the secret headquarters of the Resistance. Humanity's survival efforts were coordinated by dozens of people working at computer terminals, connecting with Resistance cells on different worlds. Commander Valerius appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from her hidden base on Olympus. Her face was calm, but Eva could see the determination in her eyes. Valerius had been fighting the Concord's blockade for 3 years, and now she knew exactly what she was facing. "Eva, we've received your intelligence package," said Valerius. "My people are already moving to the next phase of our preparations. We've been waiting for confirmation that the Concord means to destroy us, and now we have it." "What's the status of your network?" asked Eva. "Better than the Concord realizes," replied Valerius with a slight smile. "They think they're fighting a small group of smugglers and troublemakers. They have no idea how many people are actually involved in our operations." Over the past 3 years, Valerius had built something remarkable. What started as a small resistance movement had grown into a powerful network of rebels, fighters, and allies. Valerius was determined to continue the fight for freedom and justice, no matter what the cost. As a few people had been sneaking supplies past the Concord's blockades, they had grown into a vast underground mining network. Workers, ship mechanics, and even some government officials had been secretly working together to prepare for war. The Concord had made a serious mistake by giving humans so much time to organize. Most alien species would have spent 3 years asking for mercy or looking for ways to escape. Humans had spent 3 years getting ready to fight. Lieutenant Anya Sharma contacted the base from her hidden observation post near the edge of the solar system. Her small ship was equipped with the best sensors that human technology could build, allowing her to watch the Concord fleet's movements without being detected. "Captain, the Concord's buildup is accelerating." Anya reported 100 warships in their staging area. "These aren't just any ships, ma'am. I'm seeing dreadnoughts, planet crackers, and orbital bombardment platforms. They're preparing for total war." Eva felt her stomach tighten. 200 warships were enough. The Concord had firepower to destroy every human settlement in the galaxy, and they weren't just planning to defeat humanity. In battle, they wanted to ensure that nothing remained of human civilization. "Any sign that they know we're watching them?" Eva asked. "No, ma'am. They're acting like they own the galaxy and nobody would dare spy on them. Their security is actually pretty weak because they're so confident." This was exactly the kind of arrogance that humans could use against the Concord. The aliens had been the dominant power in the galaxy for so long, they couldn't imagine anyone challenging them. Effectively, they treated other species like children who needed to be managed, rather than equals who might fight back. Dr. Eris Thorne entered the command center, carrying a large metal case. Inside the case was his latest creation, a device that looked like a combination of human and alien technology. Eris had been working on it for a long time. Eris, the project leader, had been working for months on a project using parts salvaged from old Concord ships and probes. "Eva, I need to show you something that is going to change everything," he said, setting a case down on the table. Eris opened the case and revealed what appeared to be a communications device, but much more advanced than any human technology had ever created before. The device hummed with energy, displaying holographic images of the solar system. This is a command and control system based on Concord technology, but improved with our human engineering, Eris explained. It can coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously, while remaining completely invisible to the Concord's sensors. Eva studied the device closely. What exactly can it do? Remember all those weapon platforms and hidden bases Valerius people have been building for the past 3 years? This system can link them together into a single coordinated network. When the Concord attacks, we can respond as a unified front, instead of separate groups fighting alone. This was the breakthrough Eva had been hoping for. The human resistance had been growing stronger, but it was still spread across many different locations. If they could coordinate their efforts, they would be much more effective against the Concord's superior numbers. How many platforms are we talking about? Eva asked. Valerius' image on the screen showed her checking her computer. We've been busy, she said. My network has installed over 500 hidden weapons platforms throughout the city. The solar system, built into asteroids, abandoned space stations, and even some of our own ships, the Concord has been flying past them for months without knowing they existed. Eva was amazed. There are 500 weapon platforms, which is a respectable military force, especially since they would have the advantage of surprise. But she knew that wouldn't be enough against the 200 Concord warships. What about our ships? Eva asked Commander Valerius. That's the best part, she replied with a smile. We've been retrofitting civilian vessels for the past 2 years. Cargo ships, passenger liners, mining vessels, even some of the old colony transport ships. From the outside, they look exactly the same as before, but inside, they're carrying military weapons and defensive systems. Engineer Kian Vance appeared on another screen, broadcasting from a hidden shipyard in the asteroid belt. Eva could see dozens of ships being worked on by teams of human engineers and technicians. Captain Rostova, Kian reported. We've done it. We've turned civilian ships into military vessels. Kian reported that the Concord thought they were looking at a bunch of helpless civilian ships, but they had no idea that they had turned their entire merchant fleet into a secret navy. Eva began to understand the full extent of what humanity had achieved during the quarantine. While the Concord was congratulating themselves for containing the dangerous human population, those same humans had been secretly preparing for a war of their own. What about personnel? Asked Eva. Do we have enough people to operate all these ships and weapons? Valerius replied that every adult human in the colonies had been trained for combat operations. Miners knew how to operate weapon systems. Factory workers could pilot military spacecraft, and even teachers and doctors had learned basic fighting skills. The Concord wanted to quarantine a violent species, so they decided to give them what they expected. Dr. Thorne activated his plan. The new command system displayed the locations of all military assets, including weapon platforms, modified ships, and resistance bases, in the form of holographic images. The display resembled a 3-dimensional map of the solar system, with each asset represented by a different color. The beauty of this system lies in the fact that the Concord is unaware of its existence, Eris explained. Their sensors cannot detect our hidden platforms, as we have been using their stealth technology against them. Our modified ships appear like civilian vessels to their scans, making them think they are preparing to attack a defenseless population. Eva studied the tactical situation, noting that humanity was still outnumbered. But we have advantages that the Concord doesn't know about. The element of surprise is more valuable than additional ships, especially when combined with our superior technology and desperation. There's something else, Valerius added. We've been in contact with some other alien species that the Concord controls. Not all of them are happy with the current situation. Some of them might be willing to help us when fighting starts. This was unexpected news. Eva had assumed that all other alien species supported the Concord's actions against humanity, but it made sense that some might be afraid of becoming the next target for elimination. How many allies are we talking about? Eva asked. It's hard to say exactly, but at least 3 different species have indicated they would support a rebellion against the Concord. They've been waiting for someone strong enough to lead the fight. Eva realized humanity's situation was better than she dared to hope. Not only had humans been preparing for war, but they might have allies. The Concord's attempt to isolate humanity actually created a situation where they could unite against them. The conditions for a galactic revolution. When do we expect the Concord to make their move? Asked Eva. Anya's voice came over the communication system from their observation post. Based on their current preparations, I estimate they'll be ready to attack in about 6 weeks, she said. Bringing in supplies and finalizing their battle plans, 6 weeks isn't a long time, but it should be enough. Eva looked around the command center at all the people working to save their species. 3 years ago, they were ordinary civilians leading peaceful lives. Now, they were the last hope for humanity's survival. Send word to all our people, Eva ordered. We have 6 weeks to finish our preparations. After that, we'll find out whether the Concord made the biggest mistake in galactic history by giving us time to prepare for war. The alarm bells rang throughout the hidden human base as Captain Eva Rostova woke from her brief nap. For the past 6 weeks, Eva had been coordinating the final preparations for humanity's defense. Now, the moment they had all been waiting for had finally arrived. Eva rushed to the command center, where Dr. Eris Thorne was already monitoring the alien communication networks. The screens around the room showed hundreds of red dots moving towards the inner solar system. The Concord's invasion fleet had begun its final approach to Terra. How many ships are there? Eva asked, pulling on her jacket as she studied the tactical display. 237 ships, ma'am. Lieutenant Anya Sharma reported from her observation post. The entire Concord battle fleet is moving in a coordinated formation. They're not taking any chances with this operation. Eva felt her heart racing as she watched the enemy fleet advance. This was the largest military force to ever enter human space. The Concord had sent a massive fleet to conquer Terra. The voice of Admiral Xylos suddenly filled the command center, as the Concord broadcasted their ultimatum to all human settlements. The aliens' words were translated by the computer, but the meaning was clear even without translation. The tone was cold and commanding, like someone talking to disobedient children. Attention, human settlements, the Concord leader announced. This is Admiral Xylos from the Stellar Concord Defense Force. Your species has been deemed a threat to galactic peace and stability. You have exactly 1 hour to surrender unconditionally and prepare for relocation to designated preservation worlds. Any resistance will be met with total destruction. Eva looked around the command center at her crew. These men and women had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. They knew the Concord's preservation worlds were actually prison planets. Humans would slowly die out over generations. The choice was not between freedom and captivity. It was between fighting for survival and extinction. Eva, commander of the human forces, ordered the communication system to be connected to resistance cells throughout the solar system. On dozens of screens, she could see the faces of human commanders, engineers, and ordinary civilians who had volunteered to fight for the survival of their species. Commander Valerius appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from her hidden base on Olympus. This is Captain Rostova, speaking to all human forces, Eva said. The Concord has made its decision, and now we must make ours. Today we will find out if 3 years of preparation has been enough. Remember, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for the future of humanity. Dr. Thorne activated his command and control system, linking all the hidden weapons platforms and disguised ships. Throughout the solar system, the holographic display revealed the true extent of humanity's secret military network. Hundreds of red dots appeared on the screen, surrounding the approaching Concord fleet. "All platforms are online and ready," Eris reported. "The Concord fleet is heading directly into our trap. They have no idea what awaits them." Eva watched as the enemy ships continued to approach Terra. The Concord formation was impressive, but predictable. They were following standard military procedures, advancing in organized groups, with their largest ships in the center and smaller vessels providing protection on the flanks. They acted like they were on a training exercise. Finn O'Connell observed the enemy movement patterns. No scouts, no advanced probes, no defensive formations. They really thought they were attacking defenseless civilians. This was exactly what Eva had hoped for. The Concord's arrogance was their biggest weakness. They had dominated the galaxy for so long that the aliens couldn't imagine anyone putting up effective resistance. They were treating the invasion of human space like a routine police action. "What's the status of our sensor sweeps, Eva?" Anya asked from her hidden observation post. "They're using basic detection systems, ma'am," Anya replied. "Our stealth technology is working perfectly. They can't see any of our hidden platforms or modified ships." The Concord fleet continued moving deeper into the solar system, passing within range of the first group of human weapon platforms. These platforms were built into asteroids and abandoned mining stations. They were invisible to enemy sensors, but packed with weapons. Eris reported that all weapons were locked onto target ships. Eva knew that once the first platform group was in range, it would be too late to stop them. The fighting had started, and there was no turning back. Humanity would either win this battle or face complete extinction. But looking at the tactical display, Eva felt confident about their chances. The Concord had walked directly into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. "Wait for my signal," ordered Eva. "Let them get deeper into our network before we spring the trap." Admiral Xylo's fleet continued advancing, completely unaware of the danger surrounding them. The alien commander was probably feeling proud of his overwhelming force and expecting an easy victory. He had no way of knowing that every asteroid in the space station around him contained weapons aimed at his ships. Commander Valerius' voice came through the communication system from Olympus. "Our modified civilian ships are in position. The Concord scouts are passing right by us without giving us a second look. They think we're just regular cargo vessels and passenger liners." This was the most impressive part of humanity's plan. But they still looked completely harmless to Concord sensors. The enemy fleet was surrounded by disguised human military vessels and didn't realize it. Engineer Kian Vance reported on ship modifications. Eva requested Kian Vance's image to appear on screen, showing him inside the bridge of what looked like an old cargo ship. "All weapon systems are hidden and ready. Captain, our ships may look like civilian vessels, but they're carrying enough firepower to surprise the Concord fleet." Eva watched as the enemy formation moved past the halfway point between the outer solar system and Terra. The Concord ships were now completely surrounded by hidden human forces. Xylos had no idea that his superior fleet was actually outnumbered and outgunned. "Dr. Thorne, are all our systems coordinated?" Eva asked. "Every weapon platform, every modified ship, every resistance base is active, connected through our command network." Eris confirmed that when they attacked, it would be like a single coordinated strike from hundreds of different directions. The tactical advantage was immense, and the Concord expected to face scattered groups of desperate humans using inferior technology. Instead, they were about to face a unified military force using advanced weapons, based on their own technology, but improved by human engineering. Anya asked for any changes in their formation. Eva replied, "No, ma'am, they're maintaining the same predictable pattern." Admiral Xylos is so confident that he's not even bothering with basic military precautions. Eva realized that this was the perfect moment to strike. The Concord fleet was at maximum vulnerability, surrounded by hidden human forces and completely unprepared for coordinated resistance. Every second they waited gave the enemy more time to potentially discover the trap. All human forces, this is Captain Rostova. Eva announced over the communication network that the Concord had chosen to come to their home system in order to destroy them. She paused for a moment, looking at the faces of her team and the commanders throughout the solar system. These people had sacrificed everything in order to give humanity a chance at survival. Now it was time for them to find out whether their sacrifice would be enough. Dr. Thorne, activate all weapon systems, Eva ordered. Eris' fingers moved across his control panel, sending activation signals to hundreds of hidden platforms throughout the solar system. On the tactical display, friendly forces changed from yellow standby status to red combat readiness. All platforms are armed and ready, ma'am, Commander Valerius reported. Signal your fleet to prepare for combat. All ships are ready to drop their disguises and engage, Eva confirmed. Eva looked at the tactical situation one more time. The Concord fleet was completely surrounded and had no idea what was about to happen. Admiral Xylos probably thought he was minutes away from an easy victory over primitive humans. This is for every human who lived, who died, and who dreams of freedom, Eva said quietly. Then she raised her voice to address all human forces throughout the solar system. All units, this is Captain Rostova. The Concord wanted to see how dangerous humans could be. Let's show them. She took a deep breath and gave the order that would change galactic history forever. All human forces, engage the enemy. Fire at will. The moment Captain Eva Rostova gave the order to attack, the entire solar system erupted in brilliant flashes of light. Hundreds of hidden weapon platforms, disguised as asteroids and abandoned stations, suddenly came alive, firing streams of energy at the surprised Concord fleet. Admiral Xylos stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching in shock as his mighty fleet was under attack from every direction. Just seconds earlier, his sensors had shown an empty space around his ships, but now he was surrounded by enemy weapons that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Report, Xylos shouted to his officers. Where are these attacks coming from? The tactical officer frantically worked at his control station, trying to understand what was happening. Sir, we're detecting over 500 separate weapon platforms throughout the system. They were completely invisible to our sensors until they started firing. Xylos couldn't believe what he was hearing. According to all Concord intelligence reports, humans were a primitive species with limited technology and no real military capabilities. The quarantine was supposed to be a simple cleanup operation against defenseless civilians. How was this possible? The report said the humans had no significant military capabilities, but the evidence was right in front of him. His fleet was being attacked by an enemy that seemed to have appeared out of nowhere, and there was nothing he could do to stop them. Forces for his officer. The Concord fleet could answer another wave of attack, but this time, the weapons fire came from what appeared to be civilian cargo ships and passenger liners. The harmless-looking vessels suddenly revealed hidden weapon systems and began attacking Concord warships with devastating effectiveness. Commander Valerius watched from her command center on Olympus as her carefully planned deception unfolded. For 3 years, her people had been modifying civilian ships to look exactly the same on the outside, while installing military-grade weapons inside. The Concord had flown past hundreds of disguised warships without realizing the danger. All civilian fleet units dropped their disguises and engaged at will. Valerius ordered throughout the solar system. Ordinary-looking cargo ships suddenly transformed into sleek warships. Passenger liners revealed rows of weapons ports that had been hidden behind false hull plating, even old mining vessels. It turned out that the ship was carrying enough firepower to threaten the Concord battle cruisers. Dr. Eris Thorne monitored the battle from the human command center, coordinating the attacks through his advanced control system. The device allowed every human weapon platform and ship to work together as a single coordinated force, something the Concorde had never experienced before. "Our coordination system is working better than I had hoped," Eris said. "The Concorde ships can't respond effectively because they're being attacked from too many directions at once." Captain Rostova watched the tactical display as the battle unfolded. The Concorde fleet, which had seemed so overwhelming just minutes before, was now in complete chaos. Ships were exploding, colliding with each other, and desperately trying to escape the trap they had walked into. "Anya, what's the status of the enemy flagship?" asked Eva, as Lieutenant Sharma, still hidden in her observation post, focused her sensors on Admiral Xylo's massive command. "The flagship is taking heavy damage. They're trying to coordinate a defense, but they can't figure out which targets to prioritize." This was exactly what Eva had hoped for. The Concorde was used to fighting against single opponents with predictable tactics. They had never faced an enemy that could attack simultaneously from hundreds of different locations, while maintaining perfect coordination. Admiral Xylo struggled to maintain control as his fleet fell apart around him. Concorde ships that had dominated the galaxy for centuries were being destroyed by weapons they didn't understand, fired by an enemy they had completely underestimated. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count. The humans have us completely surrounded. Every direction we turn, there are more weapons firing at us," his tactical officer reported. Xylos watched as one of his largest battle cruisers exploded in a ball of flame. The ship had been a symbol of their strength, but now it was gone. The ship was hit by a coordinated attack from 12 different human platforms, overwhelming its shields and armor in seconds. This was supposed to be a simple elimination mission, not a major battle against a prepared enemy. "How many ships have we lost?" Xylos asked. 43 ships have been destroyed, sir, and many more are heavily damaged. The humans are using our own technology against us, but somehow they've made it more powerful. This was the result of 3 years of human ingenuity and determination. Dr. Thorne and his team had not just copied Concorde technology, they had improved it. Human weapons were faster, more accurate, and more destructive than their alien counterparts. Engineer Kian Vance coordinated the attacks from his hidden shipyard, directing waves of disguised human vessels against the confused Concorde fleet. His converted cargo ships moved like a pack of wolves, surrounding individual enemy vessels and destroying them with overwhelming firepower. All mining ship units were targeted. The Concorde supply vessels, which Kian ordered to be cut off from their ability to repair and resupply, now bristled with hidden weapons. They swept through the Concorde formation like deadly shadows, revealing that what appeared to be harmless industrial vessels were some of the most effective warships in the human fleet. Admiral Xylos realized that his fleet was not just losing the battle, it was being completely destroyed. In less than 30 minutes, he had lost over half of his ships to an enemy that didn't exist. The humans had turned his overwhelming advantage into a devastating trap. "Sir, we need to retreat," urged his tactical officer. "If we stay here, the entire fleet will be destroyed." However, Xylos discovered that retreat was impossible. The humans had positioned their forces to completely surround the Concorde fleet, blocking every escape route with hidden weapon platforms or disguised warships. The trap was perfect and inescapable. Rostova watched as the last major Concorde battleship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The enemy fleet, which had seemed so threatening just an hour before, was now reduced to scattered debris floating through space. "All human forces cease fire," Eva ordered. "The enemy fleet has been eliminated." The sudden silence after the intense battle was almost deafening. For 3 years, humans had lived under the threat of extinction. Now, in just 6 hours of fighting, they had completely destroyed the force that had come to kill them. Dr. Eris Thorne checked his sensors to make sure no Concorde ships had escaped. "Eva, I'm reading 0 enemy vessels still operational. Admiral Xylo's flagship was the last ship destroyed. Eva felt a mixture of relief and amazement. Humanity had not just survived the Concord's attempt at genocide. They had won a complete and total victory. The species that had been considered too dangerous for galactic civilization had proved exactly how dangerous it could be. Commander Valerius opened a communication channel with Olympus. Eva, I'm receiving surrender messages from Concord garrison forces throughout the galaxy. Word of our victory is spreading fast, and their remaining forces do not want to fight. This was better than Eva could have hoped for. The Concord's defeat was complete and shocking, and their entire military structure collapsed. Other alien species that had been forced to serve the Concord were suddenly free to make their own choices. We're also receiving messages from some of the alien species we had contacted before the battle, Valerius continued. They want to form an alliance with humanity and help us build a new galactic government. Eva realized that humanity had not only survived, but had liberated the entire galaxy from the Concord's oppressive rule. The species that had been left in silence found their voice, and that voice was now being heard. Throughout the stars, within hours of the battle's end, news of humanity's victory spread to every corner of the galaxy. The Concord's reign of terror had ended, and a new era of freedom had begun. The aliens who had tried to eliminate humanity as a threat instead created the very force that would reshape galactic civilization forever. The Concord had paid the ultimate price for their arrogance. They had underestimated human determination, ingenuity, and the power of a species fighting for its survival. Striving to destroy humanity, they had given them the motivation and time needed to become unstoppable. Captain Rostova looked out at the stars and smiled. Humanity was no longer trapped in silence. They were free, they were strong, and they were ready to build a better galaxy for all species. The Concord's greatest fear had come true, but in the best possible way for everyone who valued freedom and justice.